Hello, welcome back to Sharks Happen. On today's episode, we're going to go over a breach of a cage on a couple of divers that were doing some cage diving with some great whites. Real quick, we're going to go over that, and then we're going to go into attacks on a couple swimmers, a couple of spear fishermen. We're going to finish out the show with what you've been eating, sharks. Stick around, going to be a great show. Yeah, we're going to start out our show over off of Isla Guadalupe, and that is in Mexico, and the date is November of 2007. Patrick Walsh and Paul Damgard, they are doing some cage diving off of Mexico, off of Isla Guadalupe, and they're in the water, and suddenly a 15-foot shark goes from chasing the bait across the water and turns and comes straight at their cage and enters the cage. Neither of the divers were injured. There's film of this. I'll put a clip of it in the video. You can watch a full clip. I'll put the full clip in the description so you can see the full clip and get the full story on this. But the two were in there. They ended up getting them up out of the water. Neither were injured, so they got them up out of the water, and then when they calmed down a bit, they re-entered the water and continued on. The charter service charges $3,000 per head back then, so you definitely want to get your money's worth in that situation. Crazy situation with the shark entering the cage. I guess the only thing I can compare it to is the real shark footage they used from the shark that attacked the cage when they were filming for Jaws. But that's not an attack, it's just a crazy freak accident. It's hard to get that shark to get right in there. I know they're made that they can get in there, but they usually don't. So good thing there was nobody injured, and I just wanted to go over this as it was just a crazy situation for these two divers. And now we're going to head over to Tam Shui, or Tam Shui, and that is over in Taiwan, and the date is July 17th of 1966. Yang Ching Shui, he is 20 years old, and he and a couple friends are swimming. They're swimming in a beach where you're not supposed to be swimming due to the dangers of sharks. No telling time of day, distance from shore, or depth of water. Doesn't sound too deep, but he gets attacked by a shark. His friends quickly get him into shore. He had his leg removed. It sounds like it was severed just below the hip, and he was conscious when he was brought to shore, but he bled to death shortly after that. We'll put this down as an attack, not an attempt to predate. We just don't know what kind of shark. It wasn't witnessed by the friends. Okay, now we're going to head over to the Jupiter Island Beach Club, and that is in Florida. The date is October 19th of 1981. Van Eli, 19 years old. He is out doing some swimming. He is only 30 feet from shore. He actually works at the beach club, and he's only 30 feet from shore. He's in 3-foot deep water, and it's about 11:30 in the morning, and he is bitten by a shark. The shark comes up and grabs him in the arm, and he gets bitten in the hand. It sounds like the shark got his arm first because his hand was in the shark's mouth, and when he got in to get help, he told the medical staff that he had pulled his hand out of the shark's mouth and got himself into shore. So he gets himself into shore. He goes in to get stitched up. They said this is a 6 to 8 foot long shark that got a hold of his arm. Don't know what kind of shark it was though, but we do have the information on the attack, so it goes down as an attack, not an attempt to predate. Don't know what kind of shark, 6 to 8 feet long. Okay, now we're going to head over to CHS Beach. That is in New Caledonia, and the date is May 25th of 2021. An unidentified male was reported by fishermen who had seen first eddies on top of the water. They knew there was an underwater fisherman there, so there was somebody spearfishing, it sounds like, and they saw eddies on top of the water, so those little swirls you would see when there's turbulence under the water, and then they saw fins come up, flap, and then nothing. They said it was really quick. They reported the incident. There was a search launched. Nothing was found in the search, nothing at all. So at the time, they hadn't, had anybody that was reported missing or reported out doing spearfishing. So I did look to try to Google to find out if they've figured out who this gentleman's identification is, or female, but I haven't seen anything on it yet. So if you're in New Caledonia and you know of this attack back in May of 2 years ago, 2021, and they identified the person, if you can put it in the comments, that'd be great. That's our attack on the unidentified male over in New Caledonia. An attack on predation, don't know what kind of shark. Okay, now we're going to head over to Pine Island, and that is in North Carolina, and the date July 6th of 2000. Ashley Walker, 12 years old. She and 15 other family members and friends met up down in Pine Island. They are from Michigan and Ohio collectively, and they all went to Pine Island for vacation. And at about 4:30, Ashley is out in the water. She's actually coming into shore from being out in the water swimming, her and a friend, and she gets into about, well, it's shallow water, but she's about 10 feet from shore, and she feels something brush against her leg, and then she feels a tug on her leg. And she gets into shore, and she ends up with a 9-inch long bite to her leg. And when they went ahead and sewed her up, they showed this bite mark to the experts, and they said, yeah, this could be, it's rather small shark. It's a 22 centimeter like diameter of a bite that it would be. But they said this would be like a 3 to 5 foot tiger shark, or maybe a little bit larger, of a smaller species that got a hold of her. They said it could even have been a bluefish that bit her, so I don't know. I'd kind of like to see this attack. That goes down as an attack, not an attempt to predate. We just don't know what kind of shark or bluefish. And now we're going to head over to Koroya Bay, and that is Marsa Alam. That's Egypt, and the date is March 21st, 2015. An unknown male, 52-year-old German, his name isn't known. He was out swimming in the bay. He was 50 feet from a reef at the time. He's in 30 to 40 feet deep water, and it's 4 o'clock. He's swimming, and he's suddenly attacked by a shark. Nobody had seen the shark before he was attacked, but as soon as he was attacked, there was a Zodiac close by, and it came over, and as it tried to get the man out of the water, the shark came back, grabbed the man, and pulled him under, and then took him 100 feet away, and then repeatedly attacked him. So by the time the Zodiac got back over to the man, got him up and on board, it is said that the shark tried to get its head up over the side of the Zodiac to get a hold of this man, to get a hold of the victim, but they were able to get him out of the water, but he passes away. He ended up losing one of his legs, I believe it was at the knee, and it sounds like there were other bites. They say this was a mako shark that got a hold of him, which we've heard of plenty of mako sharks over there in Egypt. Most of them were off of Sharm el Sheikh. Some think that that is mistaken, that it wasn't a mako, but we've gone through these mako attacks, and it sounds pretty much par for the course for them, to where they're going to attack you. They're not going to want to eat you, but they definitely want to bite you. They're a more stubborn type shark than I ever thought they would be. We don't know the length of the shark, or whether it's a short fin or long fin, but we do know that it was a mako shark, so we put this down as an attack, not an attempt to predate by a mako shark. Okay, now we're going to finish off our unprovoked attacks between Carolina Beach and Wrightsville Beach, and that is in North Carolina, and the date, October 8th, 1989. Douglas Nunnally, he is 49 years old. He had gone out to do some scuba diving by himself. He disappears scuba diving, and 3 days later, some remains wash ashore about 6 miles up the beach, up the shore, and it's just his lower torso and his spinal cord. So they get his spinal cord and his lower torso 3 days after the attack. This one, I'm not sure that it's an attack. This one, I would say that it's probably more likely that this is a drowning, some kind of an incident and a drowning, seeing as it's 6 miles away, and that's where they locate the remains at. So I would think that he was probably drowned, and he was scavenged on. They said by a tiger shark, so when they looked at the bites, it said it was a tiger shark that did this, but they weren't certain whether the shark had attacked after he was already gone or beforehand. Like I said, I would say after he was already gone. So this one we're going to put into the books as a scavenging until I hear anything further, just due to how far and how long it took to find the remains. The ones where they find you right in that area, either that day, a couple days later, you were done in by the shark right there. But these ones where you're miles away, I think that's more likely a drowning, drifting, and then being, scavenged. So that's how we're going to put it down, and we'll get into the end of the show with what you've been eating, shark. Okay, before we get into what you've been eating, shark, I wanted to say that only the Etsy store is open, but the website should open back up when I get back home. I'm actually filming this before I even left for Florida, so this is, what's the date today? It's kind of hard to know dates when you do what I do. I mean, you don't pay attention to what day it is, it doesn't matter. If I need to make a video on a Sunday, I'm working on a Sunday. If I need to make a video on a Saturday, I'm working a Saturday. So I don't know the date. I know that tomorrow is Thursday, and tomorrow is Wednesday, and Friday I'm going to be doing the Nautical Flea Market, which is already long over with by the time you guys see this, because I pre-recorded these episodes. I do want to say that I did see a video by, I'm going to put that video in the description of the full-length video of the attack on the two men that were in the cage dives. I also want to put in there another video, Shark Bites Christian. He went over and he went through the biggest threats to sharks. And it was very interesting, and you know, I didn't even think of a couple of things on the list. So at least is where they would end up on the list. So it's a great video to go ahead and look at and see what they're, you know, saying about the threats that take place to sharks. You'd be surprised where finning is. That's all I wanted to say on that. So we're going to get into what you've been eating, shark. What's August 30th of 1931 at Barber's Point in Hawaii. They don't know when this guy disappeared, but they found him in a shark, and his name was Sadao Nakatis, and he was found inside of a large shark. They said 18 feet long, and they said 750 pounds. If you pay attention to maybe that's a skinny shark, a skinny jean shark, but I think that maybe it's 18 feet long and 1,750 pounds would be more like it. That would be probably a large tiger shark or a large great white that doesn't have a bunch of girth on it. But that's a huge shark, and ooh, you know, you don't know what ended up happening for him to end up in that shark's belly. But another case of them finding somebody in a shark's stomach. These are always just crazy, these what you've been eating sharks. And anytime that we're going to do what you've been eating shark, it's basically going to be they open up a shark and they find out what the shark's been eating. So it's not a case usually of where we know of the attack and we go over the attack. Usually we find out that the body's in the shark, and then they find out if they know where it was from. So that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. When I get back to Michigan, I am doing a show on shark attack myths. And all these things that I'm going to go over, you know, I don't believe that bull sharks live in fresh waters, you know, that they can survive, let alone thrive in fresh water. So I don't buy that anymore, but I did before I started doing this show. Now there's other things that have changed. Now everything I'm going to go over, I believe, because I was told and I read in books, but they're myths. And some of them are just flat out fabrications that you can't find them anywhere in reality. And you'll be surprised at what those are. So when I get back, we're going to have a special, and I'm going to tell you what I'm finding as far as what we've been told about shark attacks and what I'm not seeing and what I am seeing. And until then, if you go into that water, you are much more afraid of those sharks than they are of you.